Hello. I recently purchased a Raymond #1 sewing machine. This machine was made at the tail end of 1881 in Guelph, Ontario, by the Charles Raymond Sewing Machine Company. Charles Raymond was an interesting person. He was born in Massachusetts rather. He began in the 1850s to develop a sewing machine. In 1852, he attempted to get a patent on some of the aspects of his machine, but was beaten by Singer to get that particular patent in 1852. In 1857, along with a man named Nettleton, he developed a chain stitch sewing machine and began manufacturing. Sold many of them. They were reputed to be good machines. But by 1860, in the United States, there was what was called the Sewing Combine, which was a group of sewing machine owners who got tired of all the patent infringements and battles between each other. They formed a consolidated group called the U.S. Sewing Combine and basically went after everybody else in the business. By 1862, Charles Raymond had had enough of litigation and moved to Guelph in what was then Upper Canada, before Canada was incorporated as a country. So 1862, in what is now Guelph, Ontario, Raymond set up his factory and began continuing to make the chain stitch machines. By 1870, he brought out a sewing machine called the household model, which was a lock stitch machine. Prior to that, he actually had developed what he called a walking presser foot and incorporated that into his chain stitch model. By 1880, he had developed a patent for a transverse shuttle model #1, which this particular machine is an example of. He also developed the #2 and what was called a #3 or family sewing machine. By 1890, he brought out a high arm lock stitch machine, and I had previously done a video showing the high arm machine. By 1916, Raymond was having difficulties because of World War I, selling machines. The company called White Sewing Machine Company purchased the Raymond Sewing Machine Company in 1916 and continued manufacturing sewing machines under the White and Raymond labels in Guelph, and that continued until 1922 when White closed the factory in Guelph. So what we see here is the Raymond #1. It is very much different from anything that I have worked on before, various Singer machines. This is a transverse shuttle. You'll notice the two plates here where the shuttle moves this way back and forth, and this plate here covers the feed dog assembly. On the upper part of the machine, you can see where the thread, there's a thread spool pin here. It winds the thread totally differently, comes around to the side of the machine over what looks like an upper tension device, but is not. It's actually just a thread guide. And then the thread goes in through this hole on this arm, which is actually your upper tension. It goes through and out the bottom. If you wish to increase tension, you would wind the thread, and you can see the thread is going around the arm here. That increases or decreases the upper tension. The thread then goes to the thread take-up lever and down to the needle. There is a raising and lowering presser foot here. I'm going to open up, and you can see here, this is the bobbin case. It is sometimes called the boat because it does look like a little boat. Inside here is a bobbin, but unlike other shuttle cases or carriers, this does not have tension increase or decrease. The thread basically goes from the bobbin through this little hole here, and that's it. The thread comes up. It mounts in the carriage and goes along this way, catching the thread as it comes down, which then goes around and makes a lock stitch there. The biggest reason why I decided to make this video was because when I did purchase this machine, I had never seen anything like it, and tried looking on various websites and also on YouTube. There were one or two videos, very short in duration and not really explaining much about the machine itself. So I decided to make this video to show all about the machine and how it functions. So once the bobbin is in, you can see there I've taken up the bobbin thread, and then I am ready to begin sewing. I'm not going to give any demonstration of the machine sewing. I will just state that it has been thoroughly taken apart. The treadle base, everything functions on it. It's been thoroughly cleaned and put back together. Interesting thing, this has a sewing belt shield that goes over here. This is your bobbin winder. The patent date on the bobbin winder is patent number 75, 1880. And as I mentioned, this machine was manufactured in 1881, late in 81. So the bobbin would go inside this device here, which pushes tension against the little bobbin winder. It has a leather belt actually on it rather than newer machines that have a rubber wheel. But the bobbin feeds onto here, thread comes off, and over this little bar here, and this goes up, and you would then, on the end of the machine, there is a stop so that you can wind the bobbin without the needle going up and down. And then it just locks back into place and then is engaged, ready to be used again. I'm going to tip the machine so you can see the underside of the machine here and how that all works. It's very much different. You can see this is the shuttle here, and it just goes straight back and forth. And you can see this mechanism goes off the main shaft and drives the shuttle back and forth. While that is engaging, this bar here operates the feed dogs. The feed dogs are on a plate, this plate here. And as you can see, this device here is a little cam. It's a cam plate rather than a rotating cam, but a cam plate that has a groove on it. As the machine begins to turn, it is shifted to the left because of the angle on the plate itself. So it just goes back and forth. There is a stitch length regulator here that I can control from the top knob here, and that adjusts the stitch length. I believe it goes from 8 to 30 stitches per inch. On the reverse of the machine, on the back side, I'm not going to move the camera around to show you, but on the back side here, there's an inspection plate that goes all the way around the back and down to the bottom, which you can remove and access from the back side the gears and clean everything out in the main shaft and the vertical shaft. You may notice here, this is actually the thread bar, the needle bar. So the needle bar moves up and down, and you can see it right here going up and down on the side. This lever here adjusts the pressure on the presser foot, and this of course is the needle bar itself. So I think that's about all I can tell you about this machine. I'm very pleased. I was able to take it all apart, at least everything up to this point here. I did not want to take these pins out for fear of damaging them, but I was able to take everything else apart, clean it, and service the machine so that it is running. The front nose is disconnected here, 2 screws, and the whole front comes right off. And then I was able to clean all the components inside here, the upper tension, the needle bar, and the presser foot. So all of that is removable, and you can access all of that. I hope that you enjoyed this video. At least now there is some sort of a reference that people can use to, have a visual guide as to how the machine all operates.